THW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. Guys, I profiled a 63-year-old amp. You can see it here. You've probably seen it on Instagram or in other videos and stuff. It's a 1957, mostly original, 5E7, Fender Bandmaster 5E7. The reason I say mostly original is, you have to do cap jobs and stuff to these sorts of amps, but original speakers, original transformers, and it's just a joy to play. You heard me playing it a little bit there in the intro, and even now, just this beautiful sort of strat, just humming through a couple changes. It really, really is a fantastic sounding amp. And it resulted in some fantastic sounding profiles. Now I want to walk you through what we put in the pack, and maybe I'll show you how a couple of them sound. I mentioned in the last video, the $7,000 amp video, that I really was a fan of this 906 and the way it was sounding. And it sounded great in that video, but I made some profiles with the 906, and I want to show you a couple of those right now. Basically, we took the 906 by itself, and we put it in the center of the cone and then moved it over so that the center of the 906 capsule was just not quite where the little center of the cone, the dust cap, meets the cone, but just slightly over from that, just a couple centimeters. I really slowly moved it and tried some different spots, and it sounded just really good there. Now I want to show you these. Now I don't believe I've ever put out any profiles with just a 906. You've been able to get the sound of the 906 through some Tone Junkie IRs, but we have not profiled an amp with just the 906. And I want to show you the EQ curve it gives. It's what I would call a dynamic EQ curve, but I think the 906 is a little warmer in the low end than a 57. And so if you are used to the 57 miking an amp live, I think this is the prime place for the 906. And I think it's really in a beautiful spot. And I think it sounds really great. Let me show you the absolute cleanest profile here. You can see this is 57 Tweed Band 906-1, and I'm playing this beautiful custom shop Strat on the neck pickup. These are Fender dual mag pickups for anyone who's interested. And like I said, I am going to play probably mostly the Royer in the 57 or the Fat in the 57. We're going to get into that. But I wanted to include these 906 because it's a 906 running through an API. If you like the sound of your amp mic'd up live, you're going to like the sound of this Tweed Band 906, this set of profiles, because they're just dynamic. And that makes sense because it's a dynamic microphone. Sounds like this on the cleanest setting. I do have a little buzz from these lights. Check it out. Just a beautiful, bright, dynamic, this is serious. I can't even believe I'm saying this because I used a single dynamic microphone, but this is the best sound I've ever pulled out of a single dynamic microphone, a 57 or a 906. It is this profile set. I don't know what it is. It's something about the original Jensen P10s that are in here, the Alnico 10-inch speakers, and maybe the voice, the sort of grunty tweediness of the Bandmaster, and then this EQ curve. Now, there's a little switch on here. I'm not using it at all. It's in the center position, so there's no cuts in the highs, or there's no boosts in the highs, low, or cuts in the highs, which you can do with this microphone. But this, I believe just this combination, just a simple combination of this with an API is just the best sound that I've ever personally pulled out of a single dynamic microphone. To the point that I would say, maybe start here, because it's so rich. It's so rich. I'm gonna put it on the middle position. By the way, we're listening to the Kemper Direct. This amp, truth be told, the amp was actually taken out. This is just a cabinet right now because I had to separate the amp and the cab to put them in different rooms. But this cabinet is not functioning in this room. I have a slight bit of reverb. You know, you can hear that. It's not slight, but it's understated. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's jump up to profile number 3, 57 Tweed Band 906, profile 3. Listen to the amount of breakup here. Come on. Come on. That is one of the best. Oh my word. That's great. Okay, now I'm going to go up to 5 here. And I want to talk to you about this 5 profile. I couldn't put this amp on 10. I couldn't risk the speakers. Actually, let me take that back. The amp goes to 12 on all the dials. I could only put it on 10. I couldn't risk the speakers, guys. So listen, you can bump up the gain just slightly. The Kemper can bump up the gain just fine. Let me tell you something about the Kemper gain. The Kemper gain, I heard someone say this the other day, and I feel that I may have contributed to some of this misunderstanding in the Kemper community, so forgive me. I had a video where I pointed out that the Kemper more accurately reduces gain than increases it. I think that's true on cleaner profiles. The cleaner the profile is, the more the Kemper accuracy leans towards cleaning up over getting it dirty. But once you have the gain sufficiently up, the character of the breakup is sort of fully exposed, and the Kemper can actually increase with it can up the gain with great accuracy. It's only in the clean profiles where if you up the gain too much, you get a very different sound. But this profile is sufficiently dirty. The amp is cooking. I would say anything above, whatever a Tone Junkie profile is, 4, maybe even 3, you can up that gain a bit. I would not be afraid. And the smaller the movements, the less I would worry about it. But this amp is fully cooking here. You can increase that gain without worrying about it. On the bridge. Stop it. Sounds like $1 million. Okay, 906. That's the 906. You want to hear something a little different? We put in a couple letters here, and I want to explain the letters. 906 means 906, okay? But I want to explain the letters. F in this pack is going to stand for fathead. When you see an F, when you see 906, it means 906 was used. When you see F, it means fathead was used. Here's why this is important. There's a fair amount of low-end grunt in these Tweed profiles, and pairing them with different guitars is going to yield different results, especially when you consider the microphone. If we want to pick up a lot of that low-end grunt and really make it a fat sound, we're going to use this fathead. There's two sets of profiles in here that use the fathead, FI and FM. If we go back and remember how this Bandmaster is comprised, we've got an instrument channel and a mic channel. The second letter, I and M, are going to stand for instrument and microphone. That refers to the channel. The microphone channel has less presence and a little more low push, and the instrument channel is a little brighter. So using this with the instrument channel is sort of balancing out a lot of low end from this guy, and the instrument channel is bringing in some more high end. The thickest sounds are going to be FM, whereas a more balanced sound is going to be FI, fathead instrument channel, fathead brighter channel, or fathead mic channel. That's going to be very fat. In some of the demos coming up, you will hear those in future videos when this pack is ready to come out. And basically, it's just different flavors. Now, if you don't see anything, it was this combination used. Now, let me talk about this real quick. This is a combo sort of mic holder that I've picked up that I've been using, and I used on this pack. And the difference in mic placement for me, when I use it, in the center of the cone, I put the fathead and then I move it over so that the center of the fathead is just off the dust cap a bit. And then the 57 usually goes further out over here. I'm holding this Royer, but ignore it for a minute. This 57 kind of comes out, and I might angle it away or angle it towards. I might do different things with the mic. But where you don't see an F, where you just see I or M, we use the Royer and the 57 on this little combo holder. Now this puts them it makes it easy for my job because this clip has little marks where I can put them perfectly in phase without having to really kind of get a stick or a ruler and line up, the capsules and the capsule and the ribbon. And so what I would do was I would put this Royer right in the center of the cone. And then I would just ever so slightly push it out. Almost to the point that if you didn't look carefully, you might think it was in the center, but it's just out. The reason I do that is that the center, anywhere near the center, has plenty of brightness for the 121, but I want to give the 57 just a little room to get away. This is spaced very nicely where the 57 gets just off the dust cap, but sometimes I want to bring it over a little more. And especially for the instrument channel, there's extended presence, not extended presence, there's a good amount of high end in the instrument channel of this amplifier, and so when profiling it, I wanted to make sure that didn't get too out of hand. So let me show you what those sound like. We just heard a 906. Here is FI1. FI1 is going to be the fathead on the instrument channel. Fathead instrument channel. And listen to this low end. More strident high end from the 57 than from the 906, and more beef in the low end, sort of a bellowing quality. You really get that fatness on the low end. Playing the bass all of a sudden. I mean, it's a nice fat low end. That's what the fathead does well. And so it sounds like this. Going to number 3, we're going to get even more breakup. That's 3. throaty, fat, that's spectacular. Woo! Can you say mids? And the highs here, listen. That fat head, you guys, the fat head picks up the highs in a fat way. If I solo that microphone, you can do that with the IRs. It's dark, like it's a dark mic, but when you pair that, how do you sound like an amp? How do you sound like an amp? I don't get it. I don't get it. Woo! It really, I love a fat head in a Tweed amp. It's so fat, it's disgusting. It is like disgustingly thick. All right, let's go up to 5. We're gonna hear this. And we're gonna put that on the bridge. And what's great about when you put on the bridge is that then the sound stops being so like, wow, that's thick. And it sounds very balanced because the Strat doesn't have a ton of low end. So if you got a guitar that sounds a little thin, even a Telly, you can really make it sound bigger and fatter. That almost sounds to me like a Telecaster. And I don't have to worry about my Strat being too thin. Wow. You layer a bass on top of that, man, you got a thick rhythm sound going. That's a thick rhythm sound. For this guitar too, like this is not a bad sounding Strat. I wouldn't even describe this bridge as the most thin sounding Strat I've heard by any means, but for a Strat in the bridge, that is a beautiful sound. And it's beautiful because we've got this thickness from the fathead, disgusting, with this low-end Tweed grumble, rumble, sounds like a barking dog, and then you just put a fat collar on it, and then you throw on this brighter pickup that's just gonna snarl a little at you, and it's like a symphony of hounds. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what it is. Okay, now check this out. Now I'm gonna go to the mic channel of the F profile. So what do we got? Fat head, mic, and check this out. We've got an entire sort of, just a darker, thicker. Number 3. If you can't hear the difference, get headphones, because you know on a phone or computer speakers you're gonna lose the little qualities of this, you know. But to me, this is fat. It's warm. I'm gonna put this on like an in-between position, and I'm just gonna have some fun with it. even the fumbled notes sound good. They really do. Man, I'm just so pleased the way that these profiles came out, and you know, like it's a lot of pressure, to be honest with you. You know, you just like, what if it sounded bad? You know, like that would be the worst thing. That would just be the worst thing if it just sounded bad. But here's number 5. I mean, I'm just so pleased with the way this thing captured the amp. The 906 has a voice, and the fat head gives it this low rumble, and you can hear the difference still in the instrument and the microphone channel, even with the fat head. What do you do with that sound? You rock. You just bring the rock. Like if you will feel like $1 million playing that sound, you know? What a great tone. Let me run you through these ones that are not F1s. So when you just see I and M, I and M just means that I just used the Royer in the 57 as opposed to the fat head in the 57. So I didn't feel the need to put R. And I kind of consider this the regular sound, because if I was just going to capture this amp once, I would kind of do it with this mic setup. And this has been my go-to mic setup lately. I have been enjoying the Royer and the 57. I've been thinking about getting some other mics, maybe an R101. And I'm gonna. But right now, I mean, that's just a classic pairing, and I've just really been loving that combo holder and stuff. But it sounds like this. Check it out. Here is the cleanest. Here's I1. To me, the low end now, the low end is sort of a little more hollowed out in the low mids. And I wouldn't describe it as fat low end. I would describe it as full and strong, if that makes sense. It's not strident. It's just... It's full, it's strong, I don't know how to describe it other than to say it sounds like a Royer 121, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds warm. By comparison, one could say, if this is full and round is the word. It's round and warm. The fathead sounds fat and thick. So we've got like round and warm and then like fat and thick. Does that make sense to anyone? Like, is that how you hear it? That's how I hear it. Here's I3. Yeah. It's warm and round. It's not disgustingly fat. It's just like, this sounds like, you know what? The fat one, that was just like a dude just like running in like, rah, what's up, man? Like, you know, he came to party and he's just like aggressive and like, ah. But the Royer, it's kind of like a gentleman in a tuxedo. Maybe he's got a little, like the tuxedo tail on the back. Maybe he's got a cane. And there's a regal quality to it. I would almost say there's a professional quality to the sound of a Royer 121. By comparison, the high notes are not as thick. They're a little more airy. Airy is... The fathead just sounds like a dog barking at you. Right? When you see an F, think of a dog barking at you. When you don't see the F, we're getting a much more polished, sound kind of thing. And you can actually hear that a bit too on these M ones, because now we're back to the mic channel, which is warmer. Mic channel warmer, instrument channel not as warm, fat warmer, fat thick and fat. And then Royer 121, where you don't see a letter there, just the standard profiles, just warm and round. And then the 906 is actually very shallow in the bass, but it's a nice sound for a live mix. Here's that M1 profile. It's the Royer with that warmer channel, so you're going to hear a little less top end on it. That's a really beautiful sound, really nice warm sound. Actually fits a Strat like this really well. If you're in a smaller piece band, you could really let that tone out, and you wouldn't have to worry about cutting through as much. You could get that warmth in there. There's a significant amount of warmth there. These profiles came out so freaking good. I can't even believe it. get rid of that like top end there, and it really brings out the nice middle. That nice middle, even with this bright guitar, is just allowed to shine. It's now the star of the show. It's not getting overcrowded like the, I imagine it's like these, it's just, you know, everyone's at the end like, "Whoa!" and then right then it's like the presence just like puts their hands in front of the other people, like takes an extra step forward. "Ah!" But with these profiles, it's like someone pushes that person back and you just, the middle's allowed to just finish the show strong. Does that make any sense? I don't know. It makes perfect sense when I listen to this sound, man. I think what's really interesting to me is now I would describe that sound as kind of grunty, but it's not thick and fat. It's just tweedy and grunty and more. It's amazing how thickness can cut, like it's a different type of thickness the amp has than the microphones pick up. Does that make sense? The fat head makes it thick in one way, but then the tweed is still thick no matter what you do to it. You know what I'm saying? Here's the bridge. Let's put on some delay here. I'm falling out of tune there because I'm playing, I'm really kind of yanking on these strings and stuff, and you know, it's a floating trem and I've been grabbing that bar a bit, but it's such a, it's disgusting. It's a thick sound. I'll tell you, if you've never played a Strat and had a tone on the bridge that was that you were just like, this is sufficiently fat. I mean, that's a special part of guitar. You know what I mean? It's beautiful, beautiful. Just beautiful. Man, the Kemper, you know, obviously I'm a fan of the Kemper, okay? I think that goes without saying. But man, I don't understand how they did it. How they got it. It really, really just grabs the thing you love. And, you know, microphones to me are really something that I feel like I've gotten really good at in the last year. Like there's no bad microphone. You know what I mean? They're all just components. They're tools. And I have these kind of four that I'm really like, I could do everything with these four microphones. The 906, the 57, the Royer 121, and the Fathead. I could just, like, you don't need any other mics. Now, of course, there's beautiful, beautiful sounds from a 421. I have one. I haven't really released stuff with it, but it does sound great. There's a 414 that's going to be just, you know, it's going to do a lot. And it's going to do a different thing, especially in the high end. But they all have these flavors, and it's just so fun pulling out. Like, here's, you know, you pull out the fatness of a blackface amp, and it's different than the fatness of a Tweed, and that's different than but it always sounds like that Fathead. And then I kind of had this like this plain reference, and I'm like, the 121 and 57, this is how amps sound, Mike. This is it, you know. But it's this regal sort of beautiful tuxedo-y polished quality, like, you know, like you're ready to go to the opera house or something. The reason I make videos like this is I have a lot of words I can say, right? And most of them are ridiculous, but you just have to hear it, you know? It's like a picture is worth 1,000 words. A sound, I could spit out 10,000 words and it would never fully get like people to understand what a fathead does to a tweed and how beautiful that is, but how it could be too much. So if you want to polish it up, you get the 121, and the 906 by itself is just beautiful. We've been listening to all this thick stuff. Let me just back up here. I mean, we've kind of like glossed over 25 profiles here because there's like 5 different sets of 5 profiles, but let me just jump back here to this 906, and it just sounds like, you know, this kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't describe that as super fat or thick, but what a beautiful EQ curve. And you guys, if you have trouble cutting through the mix, like you love these profiles, this could be a solution where you go, at home, I want the extra fatness and low end, but when I play in my 6 or 7 piece band, this is gonna make the guitar cut through. Oh, and I wanna tell you one more thing. You know, on these thicker profiles, check it out. I always put this kind of thing because I want it to be useful for people, right? So on these thicker profiles, here's FM3. So it's a thick profile, right? It's gonna be the fat head and the mic channel, and so it's gonna be thick. So here, listen to this tone. Well, I gave you an EQ here that should cut a little more. Let me make sure I'm not holding the wrong thing here. Yeah, I want to make sure these are unlocked. Let me just cycle through. That's it. The first one was the was vintage mix. This is the cut the mix. You can compare that on and off. But if you want to cut through that mix, now let's go back, and on the 906, the EQ is going to do a different thing. There, it's sort of pushing you out a little bit more, giving you a little more top end, lobbing off a little bit of that low end that maybe you don't need for the fatness. Here's the 906 by itself, no EQ. Now let's put on that vintage. There's options. I mean, that's, if you want to cut, you just throw on that X Pro. I leave it in there. It's usually cut the mix. Sometimes it's a vintage mix, but they're doing they're not doing terribly different things in the high end. The low end, they do a little different things. The vintage mix one tries to be warmer in the low end, but it's beautiful. They're beautiful sounds with or without. You know, a lot of times people go like, well, it's, you know, you'll destroy the integrity of the profile if you put on an EQ. God, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking? Destroy? How about you destroy your misconceptions of tone? How about you destroy that? Check this out. This is great tone. What are we destroying? What have we destroyed? Nothing. The ego of the tube snobs of the world. Guys, the Kemper is the real star of the show here. Goldie helps. This amp certainly helps. This 57 Tweed Band we'll call it Tweed Band. 57 Tweed Band Kemper Profile pack is certainly going to help from Tone Junkie. But the Kemper is king. It's king. Kemper is king. That's going to be my new slogan. Kemper is king. End of story. If you get anything out of these videos, or you just enjoy listening to me come up with ridiculous sort of statements about the Kemper and stuff, please like, subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it really means a lot to me when I see interaction and stuff and likes. I just, I sit in front of my computer, I hit upload, and I just go, please, love this video. No, I'm kidding. A little bit I do that. Like, subscribe, it really supports the channel. I appreciate it on behalf of everybody. Nate, the Suze, John 2, Desi, all the guys you see playing in these videos. I appreciate all the support. Like, subscribe, I already said that, but this has been us profiling what we did to profile the 63-year-old 5E7 Fender Bandmaster. It's beautiful. It's really a beautiful amp and a joy to play. And I think we got it. I think we nailed it. We really did. It's so good. I need to get out of this room. I've been like profiling, like just moving mics and stuff, and I kind of have a headache. Anyway, thanks so much, dudes. HW, profile the world. Out.